I very much love being out in nature, sometimes even dipping my hand in the cool, icy waters of the little rivers and streams we have here in the Huddersfield area, these lovely peaty waters. It's just lovely to be at one with nature. But today, I am out in nature, but I'm going to take you to show you something that's very much not natural, very much man-made. However, it's among all the nature. Let's go and have a look. So I've headed just about half a kilometre outside of the little town of Marsden in the Colne Valley, and I'm up at Tunnel End, and there's a reason it's called Tunnel End, because that behind me, that small black hole in the hill on the side of the moor there, is Standedge Tunnel. It's the highest, longest, and the deepest canal tunnel in Britain. It was built between 1794 and 1811, and it was a really magnificent engineering feat. The engineer hired to do a lot of the initial work on the Standedge Tunnel was one Mr. Benjamin Outram. However, he came across lots of problems in the construction of the canal tunnel, of the Standedge Tunnel. And in 1799, on the Diggle side of the tunnel, on the other side of the moorland, was a huge amount of flooding in 1799, which washed away a lot of the work that was being done on the tunnel, a lot of the early work in the first 5 years or so. So that was a major setback. And the other major setback was that it was actually discovered that as the tunnel was being constructed from either side, that they were being built, that both sides were being built at different heights, so that the tunnel wouldn't meet. They were actually moving away from each other, which obviously was not ideal at all. So that cost a significant amount of money. Mr. Thomas Telford was brought in as an ex-engineer to try and fix many of the issues with the initial construction of the Standedge Tunnel. He managed to do that, but by the end of the project in 1811, the Standedge Tunnel had cost over £123,000, which of course in the early 19th century was a vast sum of money, equivalent to millions and millions of pounds today. So you can show how important as a priority this was seen as a travel link between Huddersfield and Manchester for industrial goods. However, it came at a huge cost. It was the wild and unforgiving moorland above Standedge, between Standedge and Diggle, where the tunnel was mapped. Workers used pickaxes and shovels to dig down and create shafts to the correct depth for the tunnel to be constructed. And once down there, they would dig a hole in front of them, move back, pack the hole with gunpowder and shatter the rocks using the gunpowder, causing a major explosion. Obviously this was hugely dangerous. You can only imagine how terrifying at times this could have been, and how difficult it would have been working on such a wild moorland that's so exposed at all times of the year. Despite being one of Britain's most magnificent pieces of industrial architecture, the Standedge Canal Tunnel was superseded by 3 railway tunnels which were built in the mid to late 19th century and fell into disrepair in 1944, closing down. However, in 1999, a project was started to restore the Standedge Canal Tunnel to its former glory, with £5 million of lottery funding and significant assistance from the Huddersfield Canal Society. Rockfall was strengthened, and the walls were strengthened too to make sure that boats could pass through the Standedge Tunnel safely. Finally, in 2001, the Standedge Canal Tunnel was reopened. Currently, a new communication system is being put in place to make sure that communication is as efficient as possible at both ends of the tunnel. Modern narrowboats are even built to fit the width and depth of the Standedge Tunnel, as it's the longest, deepest and highest tunnel in Britain. Water levels are a considerable challenge, however, for those who manage the tunnel, the canal and river trust. Climate change means that droughts are more common in the summer months, so the water levels are lower in the tunnel and boats could become stuck. This is a problem that the Canal and River Trust is constantly trying to tackle. As you can actually see here from the start of the tunnel, in the start of the darkness into the moorland, is that this stretch of the Huddersfield Narrow Canal is not like a lot of other canals in the north of England that were used for transporting industrial goods between towns and cities, because here there's no towpath for horses to tow along the barges that would have gone through the tunnel. So an ingenious way of getting through the tunnel was developed. It certainly wasn't necessarily the most pleasant one. Basically, what would happen would be that on the barges there'd be two men who would, as it was called at the time, would leg it. So they would actually lie with their backs on the barge and push their legs against the walls of the tunnel to get themselves through. Now that must have been an exhausting task to carry out, because this is a tunnel that's several miles long. On average, it used to take around 4 hours for a barge to pass through, and also there were no real passing places, so it was quite difficult if you met another barge. Usually, traffic would just go through one way, and that was managed, but it was possible that you could encounter another barge. So imagine how difficult that would be. But there is actually a record by a man named David Whitehead and his wife that was achieved in 1914, and they were the fastest people to leg it through the Standedge Tunnel from one side to the other, and they did that in an astonishing 1 hour and 25 minutes. Given that the average time was 4 hours, over 4 hours, that is absolutely astonishing.
At 5 kilometres long, the Standedge Tunnel has had a tumultuous history, to say the least. Today it's a tourist attraction, and one which you can travel through from Marsden to Diggle and back very easily in the summer months on a canal boat. Let's hope that the tunnel can be preserved in its current state for many, many years to come, because it's something which encapsulates the great ambition to create coherent and efficient links between key industrial towns, to create easier transport no matter what the natural obstacles were in the way.